So, using a T7 for this. These screws. Let's take this apart and see if it's usable. So we're going to take the 4 screws out, and then we're just going to ever so gently pry the gearbox casing. If it actually wants to move. Come on. There we go. Just do this very carefully. And you might get the piston release on this. Oh, we're actually good. Come on. Here it comes. Now with these little gearboxes you have got a lot less tension, but one of the things you want to watch out for is there's still enough tension to throw most of the components across the room, and the last thing you want to be doing is losing a small component. Or any type of screw or spring or anything like that that you need. So remove the cylinder head, that looks fine. Piston looks okay too, so does the cylinder. Remove this. Come on. This is basically the tensioner for the motor adjustment, and that's your spring which pushes back onto the tensioner. Pinion gear looks good, but I think we've got an alright motor, so spins nice and freely. It would be nice to take this apart and do a new armature and stuff, but don't know enough about motors to be doing that, unfortunately. PTW motors I was good with years ago, but these little ones I have no idea. Perhaps if anyone's watching they can hit up Sam and see if he can help us out at Kingdom of Airsoft, see if he's got anything for us. Let's remove the tappet plate, the spring. So we had a bit of camera failure there. Camera decided to just completely shut itself down. So I don't know how far we got on the last bit before the camera went because I didn't notice it, but we had all the gears taken out, we had a quick look at them, they all seemed okay. Gearbox casing was given a quick inspection, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to clean this up. It does seem like the casing is a little warped, but you know, nothing that we can't handle. So let's put this in the old bathing solution that we that we use, and we'll clean this up and we'll come back and see how it looks. Right, we've had our bespoke bath, and let's see how we've got on. So the outside, nothing special there. There was no real contaminants on the outside anyway. It started to chip away at this Loctite, which is peeling off now, which we can remove it a little bit later. But voila, you can see it's super clean now. We did sort of hint perhaps of working on a CNC housing for AEPs. I know that this is a common thing where they break. This one doesn't feel the most square. As you can hear the slight play in the gearbox. But we could use this and produce some kind of CNC machined AEP gearbox. I'm sure it would be much stronger. Let us know down in the comments below if that's something that you would want, if that's something you think others would need, because again, machining something like this isn't going to be the cheapest, so I'm not really sure what the going rate for CNC gearboxes is out there, but we'd have to be making these in a quantity of at least, I'd say, about 100. And again, if we can get the measurements that close enough, let us know down in the comments below if you think this is viable, and if it is, whether it was something that you'd be interested if we did run some prototypes off in testing it in your guns. So let us know what you think. So this gearbox is pretty much all clean now. All I'm going to do is take the cut-off lever out, and then here is the gearbox out of the MP7 that we've got set to the side there. As you can see, where the main fracture point was this gearbox casing. Let's have a look side by side. Now this one doesn't actually have the numbers on it like the others do, so I'm not really sure what brand this is. I would presume it's Marui, but I don't know. Really don't know. Let's put that to one side. Look at the other casing we've got. Now this is a darker casing as well, so I think it is indeed Marui. At the end of the day, I suppose, as long as it contains all the inner components and works just fine, it's not really too much of a bother. There is a bit of play in that box that I'm just not 100% happy with. Anyway, I digress. Let's get these bits out of the way. Put them to one side. Let's get the metal bushings out of the way. And the shim. And let's actually take a look in the original gearbox and what's going on. See a much nicer finish on the inside of the gearbox compared to that other one. I'd like to think that Marui have just changed their cases over periods of time, and this one's just a little bit different. Let's get this motor removed. But we're better off than what we were, and we haven't really spent much. Those spares didn't really cost all that much. Get the motor removed. The gears, let's get those removed as well. Gears up. Much nicer spring on that anti-reversal latch. You can honestly tell that these are all the components that were in there from the factory, apart from the spring. Let's put that to one side. Let's get these shims out of place just so we've got a baseline. Now there's 101 different ways to shim a gearbox. I've touched base with this in other posts that we've done and other bits and pieces, and it really is just a case of trial and error and experience, really. I like to go off of, like, we took this gearbox casing apart, it's got a couple of shims in there anyway. Normally I go off that setup that's in that box, we'll transfer it to the new one, see where the gears are, and then you've always got a baseline then to go from. You can start from scratch, but we know this gun was running sweet. It was just a case that the front of the gearbox broke off, so we can set this. In fact, let's take that cut off lever out as well. If there's any of you out there that know more about these gearboxes, whether any of you know that if any of the Chinese companies did make a silver gearbox, as far as I'm aware they were all black. But let's get that set out to one side. Now the question is, do I use the lower half of the gearbox that's the same, the one that came connected with that case? There are some slight differences. You know what, let's just go for it. Let's just give that a go. That lower's different, so we won't use that one. I'm going to pull, cut off leaves. And the spring. And give this gearbox casing a quick wash. And we're back, and we've got this gearbox casing clean. Now, we do get quite a few questions on the way we bath these gearboxes and how we clean them. It is a bit of a trade secret. Obviously, we don't want to give everything away. We want to hold something back as to keep our customers coming back and sort of differentiating us between the others. What I will say is it's about a 6 or 7 step process. It's not a quick thing. That's why when I stop the camera, probably like 10-15 minutes have passed if it's a quick version of the bespoke bath. But as you can see, it just makes it contaminant free. Everything's clean. Anything sometimes it can't get off for any kind of adhesives, which we can always go in afterwards and get them off with other processes that we use. So let's get this section put in. I'm going to clean these components before they go in as well. I mean, the cut-off lever has just got a tiny bit of grease on it, but nothing too much. Let's get this put in. So we're just going to pop that spring back in there. The latch, the cut-off lever even. If I do mix my names up for these components, I do apologise, because they're nice and tight, nice and free moving, which is nice. Right, let's get to putting some Gucci bits in there, shall we? What do we have first? I'm not going to put the piston or any of the associated parts in just yet, just because we're waiting for that piston head to come from Poland. I actually bought the piston head from a company called Spec Shop. Forgive me if I got that wrong. Had it in stock, ordered it. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to get here. These look absolutely superb. Love the packaging as well. Lilacs have just got it right. They really have. Pop these bearings in. Like I said, we did go for the bearing option, not the bushing option, because I don't expect this gun to be withstanding massive amounts of abuse. Like I said, this is going to be predominantly for close engagements, which are going to be less than half of the time if everything goes to plan, which is why you see we called the project Danger Close, because people are going to be within that minimum engagement distance and we need to be pulling this out, dealing with the situation, and then moving on to our primary role, which normally is sniping if we're using the sniper rifles on that day or event. We will be attending a few events this year, so hopefully we'll get this out there, and if you do want to come and have a look and have a shoot with it, you're more than welcome. So let's give these, before we do anything, let's give these gears a clean. There's no point putting dirty parts in there. Let's give them a clean. I'll be back in just a moment when the gears are clean, and we'll put it in there, see where the shimming is and see where we're at.